Hi guys, I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach, and in this video I'm going to be talking about intrusive thoughts, what they are, why we might have them, and what we can actually do about them. At the end of the video, I'm going to break down a very simple process you can do in the face of any intrusive thoughts to completely neutralize their impact on you and your emotional well-being. So, let's get into it. So, intrusive thoughts are unwanted thoughts that arrive in our heads often without warning that in some way disturb us. They're often repetitive in nature, fixating on certain themes with the same type of thought cropping up again and again. They can take the form of images, sounds, or often just ideas or statements to the self, like an internal commentator or critic. Common themes include thoughts of harming others or ourselves, inappropriate and troubling sexual thoughts, or simply our internal voice giving us a hard time and putting us down, sometimes quite harshly. Whilst nobody is immune to intrusive thoughts, we tend to see those that suffer with anxiety or depression as perhaps a little more likely to experience them, as when we become aware of our emotional fragility, we're much more likely to start examining our thoughts in more detail, whether that's because we're trying to discover answers to what's going on with our mental health, or simply because we're now starting to fear what our own mind might do next. Another example of when we might experience intrusive thoughts is when we've suffered a trauma of some kind. We'll often find that event returning to us when we least expect it. People suffering with PTSD often experience flashbacks of the traumatizing event, which unfortunately only serves to reinforce and perpetuate the distress caused by the trauma. It's worth noting that intrusive thoughts are just that, thoughts. And of course, thoughts alone can do us no direct harm. However, these thoughts will often shock us and disturb us. The reason for that is that they are entirely other to our nature. We instantly recognize them as ego-dystonic, which is just a fancy way of saying the things we're imagining are not what we want to happen or not what we actually believe about ourselves. And herein lies the problem. It's because these thoughts are so contrary to who we are or what we want that the fact we're having them disturbs us to the point of alarm. We might spend time fixating on the thought, trying to understand its origins. We might feel panicked and scared of what our mind is capable of. We might start to avoid interactions or potential triggers for that thought. This can inevitably lead us into a dark place mentally and emotionally and cause us to feel overly anxious or even depressed. As with so many emotional struggles, any concern is perpetuated and exacerbated by the state of confusion we find ourselves in as we wonder why we are having such thoughts and what it means about our mental health, or even how good or bad a person we actually are. Okay, so the first thing to say here is that the kind of thoughts that we're having when we experience intrusive thoughts are entirely normal. And whilst often disturbing in nature, most people will be aware of having them at some point in their life. The reason for this is that there's a part of your mind that, in an effort to keep you safe, is constantly predicting what might happen and what your actions might be in the face of that. It's part of our creative faculty to be able to imagine different scenarios and factor in various options in response. In the same way, some scientists are saying that dreaming might well be our mind exercising creativity and practicing the ability to recognize the real from the fantastical. Intrusive thoughts are just the conscious manifestation of a necessary part of a human being's subconscious process. So what that means is that this stuff is happening in our subconscious all the time. To know that something is right or wrong, good or bad, we have to, in some way, conceptualize the options. To know not to jump off the top of the tall building, or pick up the knife by the blade, or drop the baby we're holding, our mind has to in some way predict the consequences of those actions. This is exactly the sort of stuff that goes on in our subconscious. Now, of course, most of the time, our subconscious process is all happening outside of our conscious awareness. We might be having all these thoughts, but we have no idea that we are. These thoughts only really bother us when we become consciously aware of them, and we fear that they mean something or say something about us and what we might or might not do. This is why these thoughts will more often occur during those anxious or depressed times in our life. It's because we're now questioning our mental process, and as a result, our mind is pushing more of these thoughts into our conscious awareness because we're starting to believe they're a cause for concern. So what you're experiencing as disturbing thoughts and have you worrying about whether or not you are inherently bad or damaged or just crazy are in fact, as with many anxiety responses, the very natural and healthy workings of your mind starting to be regarded as unhealthy and as a result being amplified in your awareness. There's actually a very simple way of diminishing those intrusive thoughts and once again shifting them to the realms of your subconscious processing. The first thing is to stop trying to push them away. The more you try and avoid those thoughts, the more you suggest to yourself that there's something to fear. That just places an undue level of importance on them and then makes us focus on them more. When they pop into your mind, accept them for what they are, thoughts. Thoughts are vastly different to actions, and the fact you recognize them as things you wouldn't want to do is a good thing. This means your mind's operating correctly. It's okay to acknowledge these thoughts and let them go. Recognize them as coming from a part of your mind that wants you to stay safe and to stay happy. This thought is simply another item on the list of things we would not do or do not believe. When we treat these thoughts as meaningless, we very quickly lose focus on them and they'll start to go almost before we've become aware of them. In fact, if you were to ask those that aren't troubled by intrusive or overly anxious thoughts whether they actually have those thoughts, many would realize they actually do. They'd know what we're talking about. They just aren't as regularly aware of them because they just don't pay them any attention. Always remember, thoughts are just thoughts. They have no energy of their own and are only fueled by the amount of importance we place on them and the attention we show them. Intrusive thoughts say nothing about you as a person, so you've no need to waste your attention focusing on them. Okay guys, I hope this video has helped, and if you got something from this, then please hit the like button and as always, subscribe for more videos like this. I'm contemplating making another separate video talking about that inner critic, the voice that tells us we're no good. Let me know in the comments if you'd like that. And of course, let me know any other topics you'd like to see me cover. I also do a podcast with my wife Britt, and we've actually covered intrusive thoughts as one of the topics. So I'll link to that in the description box below. Please go over and check that out. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.